Okay, so like spirituality, right?
Right.
It can feel kind of like, there's all these rules.
Yeah.
Got to give up, every good thing to be spiritual.
Right.
But what if uh, what if it doesn't have to be that way?
Hmm.
The article we're going through today throws out the rule book.
Okay.
It's a deep dive into um, balancing being spiritual with actually enjoying life.
Nice.
And it's not just for like, those folks seeking um, enlightenment on a mountaintop or whatever.
Right. Right.
This is for anyone who just wants like, a more fulfilling life, more
Mm-hmm.
connected.
Yeah, that's a really key point, I think.
Yeah.
That whole idea that it has to be restrictive.
Yeah.
Spirituality has to be all, almost punishing.
Right, right.
But this article, it argues that it's the opposite. Like denying ourselves pleasure, it doesn't necessarily lead to spiritual growth. It might actually be, embracing life fully.
Okay, I'm already liking this. I'm a little relieved, honestly.
Right.
So the author even uses these examples like
Oh, okay.
enjoying heavy metal music and eating steak.
Interesting.
It's not
Yeah.
not quite what you think of, right?
Not the typical, spiritual guru.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But it makes you wonder, like, can you rock out and still be on that spiritual path?
I think the author would say yes.
Okay.
I think I would agree.
Yeah.
It comes back to that internal balance, like finding that harmony between enjoying life's pleasures, but also cultivating a deeper connection with yourself and with something greater.
Yeah.
The author even mentions like acknowledging gratitude for the animal that provided the steak. So it's like mindfulness and enjoyment,
Yeah.
They can go together.
Okay, this is where I get a little lost.
Oh, okay.
The article mentions this meditation where you visualize yourself overindulging in something you love.
Okay.
So like, let's say you love chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
You picture yourself eating just mountains of it.
Oh, wow.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That sounds more like a recipe for a stomach ache
Yeah.
than spiritual enlightenment.
That's I can see why you'd say that.
Yeah.
It is a little off-putting.
Yeah.
But I think it brings up a good question
Okay.
about like healthy enjoyment versus overindulgence. Is it about the amount, the intention, or something else entirely?
Right.
The article it talks about the concept of addiction. It highlights how enjoying like a glass of wine with dinner that's different from downing a whole bottle. Like one enhances the experience, the other might be a way to escape it.
So recognizing that line.
Yeah.
Where it crosses from adding value to your life to becoming harmful.
Exactly. And the author's not like they're not trying to dictate rigid rules here.
Yeah.
It's more about encouraging us to figure out what works for us.
Okay. So what works for you?
Yeah, individually.
Yeah.
They offer 2 guiding principles.
Okay.
Do no harm and spread kindness and light. Everything else is open to interpretation.
Okay, so that can be liberating and kind of daunting,
It
right?
can be both, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Definitely puts the work on us to figure things out.
Right.
And speaking of figuring things out, the article has this quiz.
Oh, interesting.
It's to see if you lean more toward the
That's fun.
Apollonian or the Dionysian side of things.
Interesting.
I gotta admit, I'm not super familiar with those concepts.
Oh, okay.
Can you break that down?
Yeah, so they come from Nietzsche, the philosopher, and they represent these 2 forces within us. So Apollo, he embodies order, rationality, control, while Dionysus, he is all about chaos, instinct, and really embracing all of life's experiences.
So they're kind of like opposites.
They are, yeah.
So how do those connect to spirituality and enjoyment?
Right. That's a great question.
Yeah.
So imagine if you approach spirituality, but with a totally Apollonian mindset. You might end up with like this super structured practice. Maybe even denying yourself any pleasure because it's seen as a distraction.
Right.
But then on the other hand, a purely Dionysian approach, that might be just all about chasing experiences. without any reflection.
Right. So it's about finding that balance.
Yeah, that balance between the two. I
Right.
think that could be really crucial.
And so this quiz, the article's quiz, it uses these scenarios
Okay.
to help you figure out which way you lean. For example, let's say you get an unexpected job offer. Would you meticulously research every single detail before accepting?
Very Apollonian.
Yeah. Or would you just jump right in?
Definitely Dionysian.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the quiz, it's just a fun way to explore these ideas and see how they might be playing out in your own life, especially with your spiritual journey.
Okay, cool.
But what's really fascinating is, both these approaches have their place in a balanced life.
So what's the takeaway? Could you be a spiritual person and still enjoy, good food,
Right.
music, even just some spontaneity?
The article seems to say not only is it possible,
Oh, okay.
but it might be essential for real spiritual growth.
So it's not about denying those desires.
Yeah.
But learning to approach them with awareness.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
intention.
So instead of feeling guilty about, having that second cookie,
Right.
maybe we try shifting our perspective and appreciating the simple joy it brings.
Precisely.
That feels like a weight off my shoulders.
Yeah.
But how do we actually put this into practice? Is it about turning every meal into like a meditation?
Right.
Or is there a more approachable way to integrate this into daily life?
Right. I don't think it has to be, all this elaborate rituals.
Right.
Or like constantly analyzing everything.
Right. Okay.
It's more about like cultivating that awareness in just your everyday moments.
Okay.
Maybe it's savoring the taste of your coffee.
Okay. Yeah.
Really listening to the lyrics in that heavy metal song, or like taking a minute to appreciate the beauty of nature when you're out on a walk.
That feels that feels a lot more doable. So it's less about like changing what we do, but how we do it.
Exactly.
Bringing that mindfulness and intention to those things we're already enjoying.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I think that shift in perspective can make a huge difference. Instead of viewing enjoyment as like this thing that you got to control, restrict, we can start seeing it as part of like, a richer, more meaningful life.
This is making me think about asceticism.
Oh, okay.
Those folks that dedicate themselves to just simplicity, self-denial.
Right.
If enjoyment's not the enemy of spirituality, then what's the point of denying yourself? All those things.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
And I think it highlights like how many different paths there are to spirituality. So for some people, asceticism, it might be a way to detach from worldly desires, to really just focus their energy on spiritual pursuits. But it's definitely not the only way.
Yeah.
And it might not resonate with everyone.
So it comes back to that idea, right?
Yeah.
Of finding what works for you.
Yeah.
Maybe for some folks, limiting certain things, it helps them feel more grounded.
Right.
But for others, embracing, a wider range of experiences, that enhances their spiritual connection.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no one size fits all
Right.
when it comes to spirituality.
Yeah.
The key is just being honest with yourself about what brings you joy, what brings you fulfillment, and then figuring out how those things can work together with your spiritual aspirations.
This whole conversation is making me rethink some of my own guilt around enjoying certain things.
Yeah.
Like I love a good glass of wine, but I sometimes feel like I should be meditating instead. But maybe those things aren't mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Maybe I can enjoy my wine mindfully.
Right.
Appreciate the taste, the moment.
Yeah.
And still feel connected to that spiritual side of myself.
That's a perfect example, I think,
Yeah.
of how we can start to bridge that gap between enjoyment and spirituality.
Yeah.
It's not about denying yourself pleasure,
Right.
but it's about approaching it with that awareness, that intention, asking yourself, like, does this really bring me joy? Does it align with my values?
I'm starting to see how this could be more sustainable.
Yeah.
In the long run, instead of constantly battling against our desires, we're learning to integrate them into a more a more holistic way of being.
And that integration, it can look different for everyone. Some people, they might find that setting boundaries around certain things that helps them stay aligned with their goals.
Okay.
Others, they might find that allowing themselves more freedom, that actually enhances their spiritual journey.
So it's about finding that sweet spot.
Yeah.
Between discipline and indulgence.
Yeah.
Between the Apollonian and the Dionysian.
Exactly. Yeah. It's a dynamic process. It's like a constant dance.
Yeah.
Between those two forces.
And maybe that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
The journey itself.
Yeah, the journey.
It becomes the practice of finding that balance, finding that harmony within ourselves.
Exactly.
This idea of like a dance, right?
Between discipline and indulgence,
right?
Apollo and Dionysus, it's really resonating. But how do we actually find that rhythm?
Yeah, that's the question.
Is it just trial and error,
right?
Or are there some guidelines to help us navigate this dance floor?
I don't think there's like a single answer.
Okay.
But self-awareness, I think that's a huge step.
Okay. Yeah.
It's about paying attention to how different things, activities, experiences make you feel. Yeah. Physically, emotionally, even spiritually. Does it leave you feeling energized? Okay. Connected, or more drained, depleted?
So tuning into those those subtle cues.
Exactly.
From our bodies or minds.
Yeah. And then using that information.
Yeah.
To make choices that support you, that support your well-being.
Yeah.
So it might mean setting boundaries around certain activities.
It could, yeah.
Like limiting social media or late night snacking. Yeah. If you notice they're kind of throwing you off. Exactly.
It's not about saying this is good, this is bad.
Yeah.
It's about understanding, how it affects you and making conscious choices.
It's also about being honest with ourselves, right?
Oh, absolutely.
About why we're doing something.
Yeah.
Are we doing it because it brings us joy, or are we trying to fill some kind of void,
right?
Or numb out?
Yeah, that's a big one.
I think we've all been there.
I think so too.
Using things to avoid dealing with uncomfortable emotions,
right?
But maybe by bringing more awareness to those patterns, we can start making different choices.
Absolutely, yeah.
And as we become more aware of our patterns or motivations, we can start experimenting, right? Right. With different approaches.
For sure.
Maybe it's bringing in more mindful practices. Yeah. Into our day. Like, taking some deep breaths before meals. Right. Or spending some time in nature.
Yeah, I like that.
Or maybe it's about setting aside time for activities that nourish us, Yeah. Whether it's painting, dancing, volunteering.
It sounds like finding that balance it's an ongoing thing, a continual dance. Yeah. Between, exploring what brings us joy and cultivating those practices that help us feel grounded, connected.
And it sounds like the journey itself. Yeah. That's where the growth happens.
I think so, yeah.
It's not about reaching some perfect state of balance.
It's not about perfection.
No. It's about embracing the ups and downs.
Yeah, the ebb and flow. Yeah. The stumbles along the way.
That's really reassuring.
Yeah.
So to wrap up, it seems like the answer to our question, can you be spiritual and enjoy the good things? It's a big yes.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Maybe true spirituality is about recognizing that that those desires for joy, for connection, they're not the enemy.
Right.
They're part of being human.
They are. Yeah.
And maybe it's in that integration of those those seemingly opposite things, the discipline and the indulgence, the order and the chaos that we discover a more authentic, a more fulfilling way of being.
Yeah, beautifully said.
I love that. It's not about denying our humanness. It's about embracing it.
Embracing it all.
With all its messiness, its contradictions, and maybe, just maybe, that's where we find the true meaning of balance.
I love that. And I'll leave our listeners with one last thought.
Okay.
How can you bring both of these elements, the Apollonian and the Dionysian, into your own life? What is a balanced approach? What does that look like?
What does that feel like?
Yeah.
That's a great question to reflect on.
Yeah.
And for our listeners, we'd love to hear your thoughts too. Share your insights, share your experiences.
Yeah.
You can find us on social media.
Yeah, let us know.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep dancing, and keep embracing the fullness of life.
Absolutely.